My mom, female 51, cheated on my dad, 58. If it was the first time, I don't know, although I doubt it, because 9 months ago, my younger sister, female 23, and I caught her in the action in mom and dad's bed when we got the dates mixed up and showed up the wrong weekend to a supposed family gathering. I don't want to go into details since I don't know how much is relevant here, but the way we found them probably added to my anger and unforgiving her. She swore it was a one-time thing and yada yada yada. Dad believed her, even though this crushed his spirit, and he is not his bubbly self after that, and has lost a lot of weight since. Nobody else believed her, but my other siblings, male 33, male 31, female 23, and some of the other family members who found out thought if he forgave her, it was good enough for them, and after a few months, everything was supposed to be as usual. I did not, however, forgive her, and I told her that evening she was dead to me, and she was never to be part of my or my baby's, female 3 months, life. I was pregnant at the time, and I was supposed to break the news in that gathering. I kept my promise and refused to see or talk to her throughout the pregnancy, and she was raging and calling me selfish, cold-hearted, and an a-hole for depriving her of her first grandchild. Not only her, the rest of the family seemed to think I am at the wrong too, including Dad, and they all went no contact with me. I suspect it's to pressure me to talk to her again, but my sister said no, they all just think I'm a big a-hole and don't want anything to do with me. The only ones on my side are my significant other, one cousin, and of course, myself. I can't forgive her, not only for what I witnessed that will haunt me for the rest of my life, but even because of what Dad has become. I have never seen him so defeated and depressed, always on the verge of tears whenever I ask how he was, and the last time we met, a month or so before I gave birth, he cried in the nursery he was helping me prepare for my daughter. I resented my mom even more, and the thought of her in my life honestly makes me want to vomit. No one from my family have met my daughter since her birth. No one asked or called or did anything. My significant other, in a desperate attempt, sent a picture of me and my newborn baby to my family chat group, and none responded. It feels like this is becoming a battle of me versus mom, and she is winning. The problem is, I love my family so much. We have always been so close. I wouldn't mind them having a relationship with both me and mom, but they're set on going no contact as long as I'm excluding mom from my life. I miss them, and most of all, I miss Dad, who I believe needs me now more than any other time. I am very lost and tired of crying myself to sleep every night, but I can't rid myself of the resentment. What can I do? Edit. I'm not judging cheaters, and I'm sorry for everyone who felt triggered. Of course, many can come back from infidelity and stay in their relationship. I am just telling my experience. I am not, neither here nor privately, going to give kinky details. It's not about that. I'll leave that to your imagination and my nightmares. I will, however, tell what transpired afterwards. As I said, little sister and I got the dates mixed and went to mom and dad's home. We heard commotion and mom's voice, and we thought she had fallen or something and hurt herself, so we ran upstairs in fear. When they saw us, it was the usual mom sobbing, telling us, "It's not what you think, it's not what you think." While getting dressed, the dude ran to the bathroom, and my sister is yelling and crying. I asked Mom, "Is Dad in on it? Does he know?" Because I thought they maybe had an arrangement. The dude then goes out in my dad's bathrobe, smirking, and he sat on the bed and started smoking. My sister is hysterical now, and I started yelling, "What's going on? Does Daddy know?" I took out my phone to call Dad and turned to get out of there, but Mom jumped at me and knocked the phone out of my hand and begged me to stop. The dude then went to the door and locked it and stood there blocking it, chuckling. I turned to my mom and told her to let us out. She came towards me and slapped me twice around my face, yelling at me to calm down. Sister was screaming, "Leave her alone, she's pregnant, you jerk," and she had called Dad and started sobbing and begging him to come. The dude heard Dad is coming, so he took off the robe and started getting into his clothes in front of us. I took my sister and ran out and sat in the car waiting for Dad. And that's what happened. Focus on your own family, dear. You have a new baby. You don't need this BS in your life right now. You love and respect them, but they don't love and respect you. It's not healthy for you. If they don't want you, don't make effort, because you did nothing wrong and you'll be making effort for nothing. I think they can even try to come back in your life when they realize you gave up on them. I'm so sorry your family is punishing you like this, just when you should be having so much joy sharing your baby with them. Get some counseling, even if it's to come to terms with what you saw that day. You know that wasn't the first time your mom cheated, and she's probably still doing it. But they've all decided to overlook it, and somehow they've transferred their anger to your mother's betrayal into your reaction. Nice trick. Update. I mentioned in my original post that one cousin, female 22, took my side, or should I say she didn't cut me off. She did some investigating and found out that there was this rumor about my little sister not being my dad's biological daughter. My mom told my siblings that I was the one who had spread this rumor to hurt her reputation, and that's what made them go no contact. When I told my significant other this, he was very shocked and told me he's been receiving anonymous texts and emails from a guy claiming that I was unfaithful with him and that our baby isn't my significant other's. My significant other didn't want me to know this before because of how I was, still am, doing. I made a final desperate attempt to contact my siblings and dad and wrote them a very long email and asked my cousin to send it to them to make sure they got it. The only response I got is my oldest brother's fiance emailing my significant other that we're uninvited to her and my brother's wedding in April. That was a week ago. Yesterday, Dad called my significant other. He told him that he felt obligated to tell him the truth about me, that I have been lying to everybody, and that I made up the whole mom having an affair thing to cover my own unfaithfulness, and he advised my significant other to take a paternity test to make sure our baby is his. I heard everything because significant other had put him on speaker. I am sorry my update is lame and rather horrible. I've been crying off and on since yesterday, running to the bathroom being sick whenever I think about Dad's words. I don't know if I regret investigating further and not letting it go. I realize now that I won't be hearing from any of my family anytime soon, and for the first time in over 6 months now, I think it maybe is for the best. What I don't understand is how her affair is being totally looked over when there was another witness besides you present. I only have one thing to say. Cut all contact with your whole family, and if you can move to another city, town, country. Seek help ASAP, and take care of yourself, your husband, and your baby. Usually this would be an easy yes, but there's a little more to it. My mom is a homewrecker and always has been. She loves to go for the guys with rings. She cheated on her boyfriend with my dad, who was married at the time, etc. She's cheated on my dad more times than we can count, and God only knows if he's my biological father. But besides the point, I'm just resentful. Also, my parents are currently in the process of getting a divorce, and I live with my dad. I'm 18. So, to get to the point, a few years back we were at her brother's wedding. Our cousin was there with her husband and their 3 kids. My dad caught the husband and my mom in the act, but never said anything. Now these days, their 2 oldest daughters just got married and are having babies, and their son is off to college next year. They're all happy and successful and living a good life. If I told the wife what happened all those years ago, would it really be helping anyone? Yeah, it would be the truth, but it would just ruin the family. Also, after that incident, the cheating husband didn't let his kids play with us anymore, and I know they talk bad about us because once us kids snuck out and they actually told us what was said. It was a while back, so I can't remember the details, but over time we all grew apart and don't really get along these days. The second cheating husband was the first one's cousin. It went on for at least 2 years, maybe 3. He had a fiancée and a little girl in my brother's class. They're married now. He makes good money and raised his wife and her daughter from a previous marriage out of poverty. So again, would I really be helping anyone? The third one was more so a guy sniffing around. He was over at the house a few times when there's absolutely no reason to be. He isn't close to any of us, but is good friends with the first 2 guys my mom cheated with. He lives on the other side of town. His son was in my class, and I'm wondering if I should text him to just ask why his dad was at the house. The fourth suspicious one is her boss. He'd call her wickedly early in the morning and talk to her for hours, which I just think is odd, but I don't actually know if anything is going on. But I wouldn't be surprised, as that's the type of person she is. This is a small and poverty-riddled southern town, where men are the breadwinners and their wives are completely financially reliable on them. Heart-wise, they should know the truth. Survival-wise, it would be easier for them to live how they currently are. So, do I leave it how it is, or possibly ruin families? Edit. A lot of people seem to think I'm doing this to get back at my mother. While I admit I dislike her, this is more about me feeling the women have the right to know. If you do tell, the wives may not believe you or thank you. You might be accused of lying and being a homewrecker yourself. It would be easier for you if you had proof, but if it's just your word against his, then you may well be attacked. How old are you? It's relevant because if you are still a minor, the absolute last thing you want to do is get involved in your parents' divorce proceedings, more than you absolutely have to. If you feel a moral obligation to provide evidence, then the person to talk to would be your dad's lawyer in the divorce. The lawyer can decide on the best strategy for what to do with the information you have. As a minor, you're in a tricky position because custody in a contentious divorce is ugly, and you may not have a lot of choice in how much you have to visit or live with either person, and involving yourself in your parents' relationship to that extent can only become toxic for you. Telling the other people involved is incredibly tricky, and you should go into it with the knowledge that the information you have is by no means a clear picture of these other marriages. Maybe the wives already know, and they are handling it themselves. If I were in this position where I had information about someone else's marriage that it felt really important that they also know, I'd approach it likely by sending a letter or an email. State only facts about what you know and how you know it. Express concern for the well-being of the person you're sending this to, but, and this is really important, you absolutely have to distance yourself from the situation after providing the information. She should be allowed the space and time to reflect on how to use the provided information, and she should be allowed to make her own decisions regarding how, if, to act on the information. I might even open with something like, "These details are coming out in my parents' divorce proceedings, and in good conscience, I felt you had the right to know these details," or something. Basically, you want to be able to empower the other people who are affected by the situation to make their own best, most informed decisions. But honestly, outside of that, it's really not your business. Relationships are so complicated, and marriages even more so. There's just no way, as an outsider, to get a full picture of what someone else's marriage looks like. So all you can do is be truthful, provide the facts as you have them to the people who need them, and then all you can really do after that is hope for the best. The funeral was for my great aunt. My grandma is the middle child of 5 sisters, and her oldest sister was the one who passed away. My parents were never married and were split up before I was even born. I grew up in a split household, but when I would visit my dad as a small child, he lived above my great aunt for many years. I haven't seen this aunt since I was about 8, but my grandma is living with me short term and asked me if I would go with her to the funeral so she didn't have to go alone. My dad, of course, is also going. My mom happened upon the obituary. How, I'm not exactly sure. It's possible she found it through someone's Facebook or just happened to find it online. Anyway, the obituary had the service date but specified that it's a private service. So she then calls me and tells me she's going. So I remind her again that it's a private service and I don't think she's invited. She does have my dad and other family members on his Facebook, and I see her commenting on their posts about how she remembers taking my great aunt shopping for groceries and spending time with her. I know for a fact that none of this is true, because my great aunt was disabled and very reclusive and pretty much never left her house. My dad and I used to buy her groceries when we lived above her, and after we moved out, she moved in with one of her younger sisters and remained in that sister's care until she passed. The point is, my mom has almost zero relationship to my late great aunt. I asked my dad about it just out of curiosity, and he pretty much told me that he didn't think my great aunt would have even known who she was. He said the most interaction they would have ever had is brief hellos when dropping me off as a baby. So, on the day of the funeral, of course, my mom shows up. She arrived a little before the actual service started, and immediately just starts introducing herself to people. She talks to my grandma and her sisters about how well she knew my great aunt, and how they used to go grocery shopping, and how she used to help out around the apartment and spend a ton of time with her. My dad and I know none of this is true, but this behavior is honestly pretty normal from my mom. She has a habit of making up elaborate lies that makes her seem very important. I'm pretty sure my grandma and other great aunts knew it was all BS, because they looked pretty uncomfortable. But they took her aside and politely asked her to leave. She started making a scene right before the service began, so I stepped in and asked her to leave as well. So now it's been almost a week later, and she won't speak to me. Normally, if she can't get in touch with me at least once every few days, she'll blow my phone up until I answer. I honestly have a lot of resentment for my mother, and frankly, I can't stand to be in the same room with her for too long. So maybe I was in the wrong for asking her to leave because I honestly didn't want her there in the first place. Is it even worth trying to have a conversation with her about this? You weren't wrong. She sounds manipulative and not something you should worry about upsetting. She likes drama. Just ignore her and enjoy the temporary peace.